Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate for another Oscar video. Of course, it is awards season. We've got a fair few more films to watch, and we've also got to round out the best film nominees, which brings us up to Don't Look Up, one of the most interestingly discussed films, I would say. It's got its fans and it's got
Mm.
its opposers, and it's up for the biggest prize of them all, of course, best film. And this is going to be quite an interesting one, I feel, tonight. But before we actually start getting into that, Tate, how are we tonight? And I was going to say, is the moon falling? That was a different film, but
Yes,
it's essentially the same film.
pretty much the same. Yes. No, I'm doing good tonight. I'm doing good. I'm glad that I was able to actually watch this before I came out to Austria as well. It's been a little while since I've seen it, but I'd say this film does stick in your head in very certain ways. But we'll be getting into discussing that in a second. We want to know if you guys have seen it at home. So please make sure that if you have seen it, comment below with your thoughts on it. We love to hear a good discussion on here, especially with this film, because this might be the most polarizing for Best Picture. You've got, like George said, a lot of fans who love this film, say it's fantastic. A lot of people who do not believe it should be here, should not be up for the awards. And the only reason why it's there is because of the cast and the director. But also, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe as well. We love to build up the community here. And also, make sure that you follow us on all of our social media streams to find out when our next videos are coming out. We've always got kind of the schedules going up and stuff like that. Any announcements the channel makes are through these channels. So that's at cinema_savvy. That is Facebook. Just type in Cinema Savvy, and on letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy as well. And finally, go into the link in the description to pick up a t-shirt from T Public as well.
Definitely. So everybody, please do that. And Tate, I'm going to actually kickstart.
Yeah.
Is there a divide between us? Did you like this film? I mean, I'm going to say I didn't. I'm curious to know where you stand.
I'm of that very interesting middle party where I enjoyed the film, but I do not believe it should have been nominated for anything.
Yeah, it's a tricky. I mean, not even a tricky one. I mean, even just really getting into it. When this film was announced, a December Netflix release date, the first
Mm.
Jennifer Lawrence film in X amount of years, Leo's first film since Hollywood. Oh, look at this ensemble cast. We've got like Meryl Streep, Jonah Hill. Oh my days, I've forgotten her name, Kate Blanchett. We've also got
Mark Rylance,
everybody. Mark
Timothy
Rylance.
Chalamet. It's just the list goes on and
The fact
on.
that Chalamet turns up, he's like probably like 10th build or something, is ridiculous. And and the whole logic was going to be, it's about a meteor coming to Earth and the impending extinction of humankind. And
Mm,
on paper, and this is where I said like a year ago, on paper, I was like, that film is going to be phenomenal. And I just
mm,
remember seeing that first teaser in the first post, and I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought. And then I actually watched it a little bit later than the others. I didn't see it on release. I know
yeah.
some people did cinema trips. Netflix didn't do any screeners as well. So it was very carefully guarded. And if I'm going to be blunt, I actually hated it. I think there's a genuine story to tell that just had awful execution. That's my like one line epitome before we really get into it.
Mm. Well, for me, I'd heard about it. A lot of people talking about the cast and stuff like that. I saw the first trailer when it came up, and I thought, oh, okay, it's a comedy. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be a comedy. I know that Adam McKay kind of works with comedies and kind of flows into that comedic element. And it's really difficult to describe his direction style because it's changed over the years. With the last kind of few films that he's been putting out, we're talking The Big Short, Vice, and now this film. It all has a very similar kind of directing and editing style, and it's kind of that fast motion kind of almost like an American version of Edgar Wright's style of comedy, where it's very quick, kind of flashing cuts and stuff like that. But it's put in the backdrop of American humor. I don't know whether because I'm British, I'm not the biggest fan of that, and I like it when Edgar Wright does it, but I'm not the biggest fan when Adam McKay does it. But saying that, didn't enjoy Big Short. I enjoyed kind of Vice just purely out of Christian Bale's acting performance. And with this film, best way of describing it is, do you know what? Sometimes you want to just turn off your brain and watch a dumb film. For me, if I want to watch a dumb film, I'll just stick on the Fast and Furious franchise because I can just completely blank that. I don't need
You've
to pay
seen them
attention.
all yet?
I've only seen a few of them, but it's that one film where it's like, do you know what, I'll just stick on one of the kind of Fast and Furious films because I don't need to focus on the story too much. It's dumb violence and stuff like that. This is more like dumb science. And it's one of those things where you just stick the film on. And whilst I was watching it, as much as a good time I had, it's one of those films which is just complete background noise for me because, like, the entire plot is so dumbed down for kind of general audiences to kind of understand and put quite a prominent kind of worldwide message into something that's so kind of over the top and once again dumb that my brain just switched off immediately and I chuckled along to a lot of the jokes that the film had. I didn't really pay attention too much to kind of all the background noise that came with it because it was a film where my brain had already switched off. And that's a problem because I like the film. I enjoyed the film. I will probably watch it again at some point. Do I think it's worthy enough of being nominated for Best Film? Absolutely not. This film should be nowhere near Best Film. There are many, many films that deserve this spot over this film. You could argue for many films over this film. And I feel like it just got there because, not because of the good acting performances, not because of good directing or anything like that, because of the names that come behind it, because of the kind of people that were behind it already, the actors in the film, the director who's done his stuff previously. It's almost like they had the ticket written before the film was even released. And then the film got released and it was a little bit controversial. And now we're kind of stuck in that kind of status of, well, the film really shouldn't have been nominated, but it has been. We don't know if it's going to win anything, but because they've got so many big names behind it, it probably will, and it shouldn't deserve it. And yeah.
That's exactly how I feel. I think on paper, this is a film that could have been magnificent, should have been magnificent. And I don't want to say you need a better director on it. I think maybe you actually do. But I feel like this is a film that achieved its nominations before the actual Oscar season started. I mean, BAFTA, it's got Leo in for Best Actor over Andrew Garfield, which is awful. And even more shocking given that Andrew Garfield's actually British. And it had all this momentum, and the general public. Some people say, oh, this is fantastic. I understand that some people like it. Always because it's got obviously the ending it has. That hits hard, but because that is the ending, that's people's final thoughts with it, and it's just not that good. And all the names in it, I mean, we'll go over some of the cast and stuff, whatnot, but the core essence, I'm going to say my issue is Adam McKay. You mentioned the Edgar Wright. I feel like he thinks he's part of the thick of it, and it's really far from it. And the one thing I detest more than anything, which isn't to do with the quality of this film, is this sort of almost war message they're sending out that Adam McKay has expressed on Twitter that if you dislike this film, you are anti-global warming.
Yeah.
And I'm sat there saying, I work for a sustainability company. I dislike this film. I know that global warming exists. It's not mutually exclusive. And, I understand that there would be some far right, Trumps and them lot who would say this isn't true. But you're allowed to say you dislike this film because you dislike the film, not because of the message it's failed at sending. And also, I'm going to be really honest, this film isn't about global warming. I'm just going to say it. It's just meteor heading to Earth. It's more about the government's reaction to things. And that's more like anti-government media, I would say, than global warming. And that's how it kind of feels like.
Yeah, I was going to say it hits more with the kind of corporate message, if anything, like the corporate entities kind of taking over the world and having influence over government. I'd say was a bigger message from the film, especially because the second half of the film is entirely about that. I'd say also, if it was to do with a global warming message, they didn't really express it in a way that you could directly translate it into global warming. I mean, sure, replace the meteor with the impending doom of global warming and suddenly you've got it. But why don't you just make a film about global warming? Like, instead of making it a meteor, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, and it's where I'm kind of because I think as well, when you think about global warming, if you're going to pick one actor on the planet who advocates for all of that, you go for Leonardo DiCaprio, who is the leading man in this film. And I'm going to say it, I didn't like Leo in this film. I think he's fine, but it's not the Leo we're going to get next year on the Flowers on the Moon, the Scorsese drama. It's not the same Leo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I feel that he's picked this film out of obligation to his response to what he does and advocates for, more so than the quality of it, because this is not. This is one of the worst films I think I've seen him in a very long time. And he picks his films so carefully, but
Yeah.
his performance, I would say, it's not bad, but it's not good either. I just feel like it's middling. I feel that give it a few years, he'll be criticizing this film. He'll be saying that it sent the wrong messages out. Even the idea of here's the scientist thrown into the limelight, and I understand that, because obviously with what we've been through the last few years, there's a lot of scientists that have now become celebrities, not out of wanting to, out of persona, out of what their job entails them to do, and I just didn't care for his character in truth. And then he's suddenly having a fling with other people and all this sort of stuff, and it sort of disappears from being the film about science to just again like corporate America. And I just really struggled with it. And again, it's not because I'm not going to say it's like terrible. I just think the idea is there. It needed a good second draft and a better director to take it on, and you've potentially got something really interesting, but it just felt cheap. And you know what it felt like? Almost every single Netflix film that you watch and you forget about and you stop caring about. But because they didn't let you forget about this, they had to keep telling everybody you're watching it. They had to keep saying, nominate this, you're anti-global warming. You've got amazing films like Tick, Tick, Boom and other Oscars like Power of the Dog. And Netflix was backing this. This was Netflix's film they were backing until Power of the Dogs really kicked off at home with those nominations. And I just think it's really frustrating as a viewer. Just some of the intent this did, but just going back to performances, I think Leo's wasted. And Jennifer Lawrence, it's nice to see her back as well. I'll give her that. I think she's an actress where, as a lot of people do, they just turn on them for no reason, just for being in too many things, and just because her fame came early and she was more normal than the rest, people would turn on her. And it's nice to get her back. And I think she's all right in this. I enjoyed her in this. I enjoyed her character more than his. But then suddenly they're going through memes of modern pulp culture, and they're memes from like 10 years ago that no one does anymore. And the film feels outdated by the time you're watching it for the first time. And there's just some things like that I've struggled to escape from.
I feel like that's an issue with a lot of films nowadays when they insert a kind of culture reference or something like that is so tied to the time. You've got to be so aware that is tied to that time. It's okay if you're going for nostalgia and you're setting the film back in that time. When you're doing present day stuff, you really don't want to draw attention to various different things. Meme culture, especially, because that like chops and changes every week.
I live in that.
Yeah. And they went back and picked kind of the meme culture of like 10 years ago, which shows how not out of depth, but just kind of how like completely they've missed the point there as far as the thing is concerned. And I preferred Jennifer Lawrence's performance over Leo's. I think she always gives a good performance. I think she always does. Leo tends to as well, but this one felt like maybe the role wasn't right for him. Maybe he wasn't the man for the lead performance. I feel like someone else could have possibly done a better job. And maybe that's because I don't see the character. I see Leonardo DiCaprio playing that character. Sometimes he disappears into roles, and really you just absolutely buy his performance. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an absolute key example of that. You don't see Leo in that performance like at all. Whereas in this film, I just see Leonardo DiCaprio playing a scientist who's a bit nerdy. Like, it's not believable. And I feel that maybe that's because from over the years, we've seen Leonardo DiCaprio play those bombastic characters, your Great Gatsbys. We see him kind of playing like your Jordan Belforts and stuff like that. You don't expect him to be playing this kind of timid scientist thrown into the limelight. So I feel like maybe a better or not a better actor, but a more suitable actor could have filled that role better. Jennifer Lawrence,
Mark Ruffalo. Not to hate on Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo was fantastic in this role.
It's that the characters he's socially awkward.
Yeah.
And because Leo's such a prestigious name, there is no socially awkward Leonardo DiCaprio. He reeks confidence in every film he's in.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm kind of a bit lost in it, because Jennifer Lawrence is perfect at playing that younger student. Oh, she's just discovered something. She's reacting
to stuff like that as well. Like, it worked.
And I think you're right. The Leo's a miscast, and there was probably other roles for him in a film like this, but I just don't think they optimize having Leo in their own film. Again, not to sort of diss on Mark Ruffalo, but that introvert character. There's a lot of great actors that can play roles like that, and Even with this one, I mean, going back to what you said about the scientists, oh, how do we make him a bit nerdy? I mean, not just because it's me, but let's chuck in a reference about having a Star Wars poster. And
Yeah.
it's like, it feels like something like a dad's written somewhere else. I know that's
Yeah.
a really odd thing to say, but at no point do you watch this thing. You know what? This
Yeah.
is like groundbreaking.
I could have also seen people like Edward Norton, Adrian Brody in that role. Anyone, there's so many different actors you could fill in that role with, but not Leo. Anyone but Leo. But saying that, talking about where he could have fit into this film, let's talk about some of the side characters because you have so many. Honestly, and this is genuinely going to sound really, really bad.
Is it about Matt Rylance before you say it?
It's not about Mark Rylance. It's about Meryl Streep. I did not like Meryl Streep's character in this film. She reminded me of I can't remember the name of the film, but the film with Sarah Palin in it, the one about the Nazis on the moon. Do you know that film?
No, I feel like I've heard of a film about Nazis on the moon. I always thought it was like a joke.
No, it isn't a joke. That is an actual film. But I feel like the character is so kind of similar because they both play presidents. They both are ignorant. They both ignore warning signs and stuff like that. And it's played in such a very similar way, kind of shouty and dismissal and stuff like that. I know that was what the character was written for and stuff like that, but it did not work at all. I'm going to find out what this film is because it genuinely does exist and it is very, very similar in performances.
While you mentioned that, because I didn't like her either in this, playing a president, it's too on the. I didn't like Donald Trump. I'm glad it's all over. But when you're doing satire, it's far too on the nose. It's not funny. It's not funny when you're so far on that nose.
Yeah, I've got the film. It's Iron Sky.
Okay, I've heard of that. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
I went and saw Matt Rylance. Because I adore Matt Rylance. I feel like he's a British treasure that a lot of people have unearthed in the last 10 years. You know, I don't have a background in theatre, and a lot of actors trained always spoke highly about him over the years and everything he's done for the stage. But he's got a pretty fantastic track record on film adaptations. And him in this, I don't understand what on earth happened there. I mean, let's talk Ready Player One really quickly, right? Because I really enjoyed that film. He worked playing the socially awkward game developer. I think there was enough meat in that story to take on a role like that. To play the weird IT guy with the fake teeth, who is a kind of weird, old, creepy Elon Musk. It's a horrific.
I wouldn't say Elon Musk. I'd say more of Steve Jobs, kind of late years.
It's like a corrupted Steve Jobs though, and again, it's that like, don't trust the tech company, and like we know that. Don't trust the president. We know that. And it's don't trust the media. We know that as well. Like, we're not dumb. Like, we haven't lived under a rock for the last like 5-10 years. We're younger as well. You know, maybe this is aimed at the older people that, you know, sit there in their trucks crying about vaccines in Canada. But you know, with something like this, I hated it so much. And I think what made it worse for Mark Rylance is that, to me, he's had such a fantastic on-screen career in the last few years that we've seen him in these really interesting roles, and I can't picture him on set. Was he enjoying himself? Was he regretting it? Then when they gave him the fake teeth and told him what to do, like, it was so I'm going to say wasted again. You know, when you've got look at that cast, and it is the way. And even Cate Blanchett. Cate Blanchett's character I enjoyed the most, and I feel like she's the only person that really got it. You're playing basically this awful news anchor who just wants to go around sleeping famous people, and it's all about that obtaining. And there are media people like that, and that is a thing. And I think Cate Blanchett was great at playing that, but I also feel like she wasn't taking this seriously, whereas I think the others kind of were
taking it seriously.
And that's where I think Cate Blanchett understood what was going on, but I just don't think some of the others did.
Yeah, I feel like the only other character who really didn't take it seriously was Jonah Hill, just because his role was literally just like, it was just, you know, playing someone who's
the annoying number two, isn't it? Like the annoying office administrator. And again with him, like, okay, I mean, he was offered the Riddler role and he wanted 10 million and they told him no. I mean, he would not have worked for Matt Reeves' Riddler, but it's something where, you know, he's done fantastic films. So he's moved into directing. I know he did mid-90s, which I really enjoyed. And I mean, he's done comedy. He's gone in stuff like Curb Enthusiasm outside of his comedy films and stuff. And I just think this cast was so, and I think that's what makes this sting worse, is that maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but the whole film is just flawed from start to go. And off them, just looking at the awards it's been nominated for, I think it's disgraceful. I'm actually just going to put
filming, editing, score, and screenplay. I don't remember the score being ever prominent in this film.
It's because Nicholas Britell's done the score, and because he does Succession, which is one of the best soundtracks I've ever listened to on TV ever. Because he does Succession, he got an Oscar nomination for Don't Look Up. And he's now doing Cassian, which I'm looking forward to. But this score was not, maybe because of the one song at the end, fine. But as a score, not song, I don't think this worked. The editing,
Editing was like every Adam McKay film. It didn't. Yeah. It was more. In fact, the editing was more down to the screenplay dictating the editing and stuff like that. I feel like there were films with better editing, better uses of editing. And I mean, I've been a critic of the best editing category over the last few years. I think Bohemian Rhapsody winning best editing was one of the greatest crimes the Oscar have ever kind of done, because that editing was so obvious. Good editing doesn't mean obvious editing in films. And this film has some obvious editing and stuff like that. It's not that good. Original screenplay, possibly. If it's going to win anything, screenplay is the one that's going to put probably nab or something like that. It may take editing as well, but I feel like if Hollywood gives this film an Oscar, it's purely out of the fact that
it's the Hollywood elite that made it.
Elite, yeah.
And I can't even remember this about the Golden Globes. I mean, no one really bothered about the Golden Globes this year. I know they're finally sort of finished and stuff, but I'm still shocked that this got a lot of acclaim at BAFTA as well. I'm really, maybe that makes it sound a bit sort of xenophobic, but I'm really surprised that the British industry took to this.
Yeah.
But again, it's like an aging. I can't imagine that many young people watching it. You might get people in their 40s, 50s think, "Oh, what a deeply meaningful film." And just without my ranting, I will say,
generation just like, we've been living this,
It's like the whole Green Book thing, isn't it? Here's just picking the safest film about race. Okay. Not Black Cancer. And it's like, here's just picking the safest film about global warming. It's like, well, if you watched Come On, which is the Joaquin Phoenix film, that is about global warming inherently, although the story is about someone raising a son. But his work is to do with the future of the planet. There are better global warming films out there from last year, let alone previous years. And what I'll give this film, I want to say I'll give it one good scene. The whole death situation at the end, the whole them sitting on the table, I understood that. It worked fine. But then the whole not that you need, you don't need Tenet levels of CGI to do the earth blowing up, but it looks so cartoonish when it's start hitting. And I've seen Moonfall recently, so that's been in my head too. And that is about the moon falling to Earth. And that CGI looks better than this. And I know that's a higher budget, that's 150 mil. But the concept is still the same inherently. Sorry, I'm sort of turning this into Moonfall review then. But to me, without jumping to Fred, my final thoughts on this film, I absolutely hate it. I won't be watching it again, and this will be the one that I cheer for. Not that we cheer against certain films on Oscar night, but when there's that one that you think is going to win and it doesn't, and you breathe that sigh of relief. I'm hoping I've got to breathe a few sighs of relief after some awards go ahead. Is that too harsh for final thoughts? I don't know.
I mean, as much as I enjoyed this film, and I will probably watch it again at some stage, I'm going to stick it on the background. This film is complete background noise to me. I don't think it should have been nominated for anything, even though I enjoyed it. It's one of those films. And it is a shame that it has been put forward for things. And if it wins anything on Oscar night, I'll be disappointed. I won't be happy. I don't think it deserves it. I think there are many films which haven't been nominated which deserves it. And that's kind of my final thoughts on it. I mean, should you watch it? Stick it on if you feel like it. It's completely up to you. I know this film is kind of polarizing. Some people like it, some people hate it. Just because it's so on the nose and it's so kind of in your face. I don't know if it went down better with American audiences, but with British audiences, I'm surprised as well. I thought we'd be kind of prefer more subtle kind of messages and stuff like that. Especially coming into the Oscars, we don't expect to see a film that literally shouts a message at you for the entire runtime of the film. It's just kind of not expected. But anyway, thank you for kind of anyone who's been watching along. Please say if we're wrong. Tell us your thoughts on Don't Look Up. We want to see if you like it, if you hate it, anywhere in between. Whether you're on the same track as me, where you don't think it should be nominated for Oscars, or whether you think it should be. Like, just please let us know in the comments below. Always good to start a discussion on any of the films coming up. Also, please make sure to follow us on all the social medias, where we'll be telling you about all the things coming up shortly. George is going to take you through kind of the next few videos and stuff like that, what's going to be coming out next. But if you need any more extra information, go onto our social medias, which are going along the bottom and are also down in the description below.
Absolutely, guys. So we're pre-recording this actually quite far in advance for a change, which is a very different. So at the time of this video going up, this Sunday, the 27th of Feb, you might be wondering what next, what Oscar films are there? What haven't we got? We've got a playlist which you can see in the description below. That's got all of our reviews. Starts with Best Pictures, then starts working down importance categories versus nominations, all that kind of stuff. But this is the 9th out of the 10 best films on our channel. The 10th is Drive My Car. That review is going to go up Thursday, the 3rd of March. So we're kind of switching around the schedule based on a few other reasons I'll go over shortly. But Thursday is going to be one of the Oscar review days, alongside, I think, Sundays or Mondays. I'll need to double check that. But definitely Thursday is Drive My Car, Thursday, the 3rd of March. And you might be thinking, oh, we're at the IMAX that night for the IMAX screening of Batman. Yes, that is happening on that Thursday. A lot of people are going to that. You can go watch after. This is a 3-hour film by Grief, apparently, so I'm going to be absolutely bawling. But I mentioned Batman. Let's talk about Batman. So, by the time this video has gone up, there should have been a discussion on Friday with the really 007 guys discussing the sort of significance of James Bond in the Batman films, how it's not to get not crossovers, but Batman has become the modern-day James Bond franchise, the one-man war machine, the one man who will always be cast no matter what series is finishing or failed. Hopefully that discussion's great. We haven't recorded at the time of recording this, but we've been building to the Batman. We've done tier list videos. We've done suggestions of films to watch for the new cast. And there's time for a review. Now, there is going to be a spoiler discussion on Sunday, the 6th of March, live on the channel. We're giving you the opening weekend to have watched it, to join us live. We'll have people commenting. We'll bring up your comments. Sunday, the 6th of March is the big one. And I'm going to hint at checking the channel on Monday, the 28th of February, which will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. There may be a video at 5 p.m. on Monday, the 20th of February. It's not hard to guess what that's about, but I'm not tempting fate at this point in time. And on Tuesday, the 1st of March, though, to go back in time, it's the 50th anniversary of The Godfather, and there's going to be a Godfather a retrospective. This video we've wanted to do for a while. We've never discussed Godfather properly on the channel, and that's going to be starting this Tuesday. It will be Sim joining me on that, who was on our first video for Peacemaker last week. I'm delighted to get him on, and that's a film that he's very near and dear to. So that's going to be every Tuesday. We're going to do Godfather 1, 2, and for Godfather 3, it's going to be the new Coda cut, which I've never seen myself, which they're basically saying is the official Godfather 3 now. So a lot of things happening on the channel. As we said, there's been a lot of change. We've got some new faces, which have been amazing to get on. Some familiar faces, and there's a lot of things happening this year. We're approaching Oscar season. We're in Oscar season. The BAFTAs are, I think, 2 weeks away at the time this video going up. And there's going to be a massive Spielberg series at the end of March, which is crazy to think about. So there's a lot of things in motion, a lot of other discussions and rooms to navigate, and we want you all involved with this. So any suggestions, anything you'd like to see on the channel, please do comment them below. We always like to take them on board. What you guys think, what's happening, any improvements, anything like that, we do take into account. We do read the comments, we do get back to them. And I'm just going to say once more, thank you all for watching, and to be sure to see us on the next one. Take care.